Isabella Greene here, continuing on the subject of the Middle Eastern incarnations. And today I want to talk to you about meeting God in the desert of Egypt. My own story, the story of my own first possibly awakening, or the beginning of my reawakening anyway. This is a bit of a continuation of the stories that I talk and the things that I talk about, my own incarnations in the Middle East and our joint incarnations in the Middle East. That's in Soul Stream Sessions number 9. Check that out if you like. But again, today I'm sharing my story of going to the Middle Eastern desert to seek out God. Always had the very strong draw to the Middle East. Many visions, many dreams, many experiences related to that. And so when I had a chance, I went to Israel seeking God. You know, the Holy Land with the holy temples and the holy places and so much history. And just being there gave me that unbelievable feeling. And so I remember, you know, like you remember every stone there somehow, but you just don't know how. So I went to Jerusalem, and I was there, and I met a guide there, a tour guide, and he was touring us around the Temple of the Holy Dome, I think that's called, their biggest temple of 3 religions. And he asked me, he said, "What are you seeking?" I said, I'm not really seeking any specific religion. I said, I'm seeking God. And he said, "If you want to find God, you have to go to the desert." And then he said, "I'll give you my information, and if you decide that you really want to experience God, then you contact me and I'll arrange that." Well, 5 years went by, but I did not forget that conversation. And so 5 years later, I contacted that person and I said, "You know what, remember me, I met you in Jerusalem 1,000,000 years ago. I want to go and experience God." At that time in my life, I was in a really dark place, and so I really wanted to kind of shake off the demons and pull towards light. And I was really seeking. I had a feeling like I just want to move to the desert, move away from the big city, move away from that whole intensity and the lifestyle and the jobs and the partying and everything that was going on with me in New York City. That got me to the point that I was exhausted and not well, physically, emotionally, energetically, spiritually, in every possible way I was not well. So I said, "You know what, I really need help here. I really feel like I need to go back to source." And the thing that came to my mind was that guy, and I contacted him. So I flew into Egypt. Oh no, I'm sorry. I flew into Israel. He picked me up, and we drove across the border to Egyptian territory. We showed up on the Egyptian territory, across the border into Egypt. Showed up there around 11 o'clock at night. Drove. And we were picked up by a bunch of Bedouins, actually, in a beat-up Jeep with no windows. The windows were like, all glass was broken. I think only it had the windshield, but the rest were like literally just like shattered, no windows and nothing. And the guys were all like tired, and so they all like sleeping in the back in that Jeep. And I'm sitting there next to a guy in a white dress, older, really caked up skin, old Arab with the white thing on his head and the white dress, and he's driving, and we drove about 2 hours on a road, and then he turned right into the sand, right onto the desert. And it was the moon. It was a full moon night, and so he's looking at the moon, and I'm figuring out. But there's no language. There's a language barrier there. Obviously, I'm not even trying to speak. I'm looking at this going like, yeah, you know, I'm coming from the U.S. where we're told about like the war and the evil Bedouins who kidnap white people and like all of the horrific stories, how evil they are. And here I am in the Jeep full of them with the guy driving looking at the moon, right, through the sand. Well, we saw a lot of incredible stuff. So I was trying to, I had the fear programming going on for sure, yeah, in my head. But I was looking around, I was looking at him, how calm he was. He's just calm, like they say is a Hindu cow, right? Like super relaxed and calm, just looking at the moon once in a while, but driving right through sand into the desert, the Sinai desert of Egypt. And so we're driving through the desert, and in the light from the Jeep, I'm seeing bones of dead camels, and something like would run across once in a while, but it's mostly just sand. And then we arrived at a spot where there's another Bedouin, and he made a fire, and he's cooking a very primitive soup. I think that's called chichinitza. I don't really know what it's called, but that's something that actually I was told that guy told me that Jesus ate that. That's like onion soup, or it had like a very primitive soup. It's just like water and some sort of grain, and that's it. Some sort of grain and some sort of onion. That's it. And so he's cooking that on the fire, like real fire right there. And there's like 3 sticks in the sand and the camel skin. And that's our place to sleep for the night. And my guide, the Israeli guy, he says, I'm going to drop you off like you asked here. And the Bedouins will come and feed you once a day. I'll make food for you and bring you water, and then you're on your own. You wanted to meet God? There you are. Well, I have a sleeping bag with me, and it's November in the desert, but he told me you have one thing that the Bedouin has to know how to do really well, and that's how to do nothing between the hours of 8 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon, because of the high heat. And so yeah, it's open space, it's the desert, and it gets really hot during the day regardless that it's November. And at night it significantly drops, so I had the temperature drops a lot. So I had some clothes with me and the sleeping bag. That's all I had. Was I scared? Yeah, I was scared, of course. But I didn't feel they were looking at me, I'm a female in that group. That's kind of odd for them, like a woman by herself. So I wandered off into the sand. I can see that tent, I can see the fire going, I can hear them talking because the sound really travels there. So I wandered off into the sand just to look around, and the moon seriously was like that big. And I just saw how the sand, every sand particle glittered like I was walking on diamonds. And so I took my sleeping bag and I walked away, and I put the sleeping bag down, and I slept away from the tent. I didn't feel like sleeping in the tent with like 4 guys that I don't know. 4 guys that I don't know, 3 of them being Arabs and 1 person who I met for 2 seconds in Jerusalem, right? Nice. Well, these are the days when you gotta go, you have to go meet God, you gotta go. It doesn't matter, the universe arranges it in the funniest kind of way. So the next morning they left. They all got into that Jeep and they left. And there I was, by myself, in the middle of the desert. The phone didn't work. My watch, I had a watch when we arrived, but my watch stopped by midday, about actually the day out. So my watch worked for about 24 hours once we got there, and then the watch stopped too. And no cell phone, no computer, nothing. Literally just you, yourself, and I. Me, myself, and I, me, myself, and God. Was I scared? God, I was terrified. The first night by myself, it got so dark before the moon rise. I couldn't even see my hand in front of my face. So I was crying. I was so scared. I was crying from fear. That feeling, the silence is so intense that it presses on your ears. It's almost like squashing your brain in there. It's so silent, so quiet. You don't hear anything, not a sound, just the wind. the wind on the sand. But my senses were still, you know, like city person. I was coming from New York City, so my senses were still like city person senses, you know. So I'm laying in my sleeping bag and I'm crying from fear, and I'm so scared that I'm scared to even open my eyes. And then I made an effort and I opened my eyes and I saw the ocean of stars in front of me. And I also got this feeling that I am held always. I felt like I was a little pebble, like a little sand particle in the hands, in the divine hands, right there, right here, holding me, always holding me. Everything always makes sense. Everything always is in perfect alignment. Everything is in its perfect timing, and we're always watched over. And I'm about to cry now again, but I cried from that feeling. That was the first time ever I experienced that feeling, that divine presence. It literally felt like God is looking right at me, saying, honey, you're always with me. You're always protected. Everything is always in perfect alignment for you. And coming from where I was coming from, that made no sense whatsoever, you know. Because I was very much in the analytical and the left brain space, and that feeling made, like, that idea that everything makes sense made no sense, you know, to my mind. But the feeling was so strong, so overwhelming. My fear was gone instantly. And so after that I slept for a little while, and as I was sleeping I said, I want to see the moon rise. And I literally, my eyes opened by themselves right as that little piece of the moon showed up from the horizon on my left. I found a spot on the like sandstone formations in the sand. Was kind of, so, you know, like just laying on the sand, it wasn't comfortable. Plus also you can really, it really echoes, the sandstone really echoes. So I thought if something comes or something is walking, I can hear it echoing through the sandstone. So I found like a little, like a sandstone formation with a dent like that, and that's why I put my sleeping bag. So I was kind of like cradled in that sandstone formation like a stone. It's hollow though, like it feels really soft, you know, it crumbles, kind of like the red rocks of Sedona, but seems like even softer. And to the left of me was sand, and to the right of me was sand. And I saw that moon just like showed up. I opened my eyes and I watched the moon rise and move across the sky and until it was over my head. And then I went back to sleep, and I said, I want to see the sunrise now. And the same exact thing happened in the morning. When the first, that first thing of the sun just showed up, my eyes opened and I saw it. And from that point on, I had no idea what time it was. I had no contact with anything, and I did not need any of that at all. My body synchronized with the rhythm of that space. I was there for a week. First couple of days were kind of still, you know, the brain would kick in once in a while, be like, oh my God, what are you doing? What time is it? Oh, you can't call anybody. Where are the Bedouins? What if they never come? What if they never find me again? You know, that kind of thing. But then it all just quieted out, and I started having visions, and my senses amplified so much. By the end of my stay, I was doing automatic writing, which I've never done before. I received the guidance on the last day because my question was, what do I do now? What do I do with myself? I can't live like this anymore. What do I do with myself? And things were dictated to me, literally dictated to me. So I wrote things down, and I did not I didn't even know what it was, and I didn't read it until I got back to New York. And when I read it, everything made perfect sense. Oh my God. My question was, what do I do? I want to move to the desert. My feeling was, I want to stay in the desert. But it said, go back to Manhattan, you're going to receive what you've always desired. After that, you will live in the desert. Well, guess what? I went back to Manhattan 2 weeks later. I had the job of my dreams where I got to travel the world for free, on company money. That was my biggest desire ever, you know, to travel as much as possible. And boy, did I travel. Wow. And guess where I'm living now? I'm living in the desert now. Sedona is considered, this area is a desert. Yeah, all true. And when they came to collect me, the last, that transmission that came into my mind about what to do, you know, what I do with myself now, that came during the time when these people were there. They came to collect me. I was supposed to be taken back to the airport that day, and they couldn't find me. I was sitting right on top of the sand dune, and they could not see me. I was receiving that transmission. I was drenched in sweat, not from heat, but from that intense energy coming in. And I was just writing things down, you know. And apparently they were yelling for me and looking for me for 3 hours. And they couldn't see me. And I was right in front of them. And then as soon as I finished writing that, I heard, like all of a sudden I heard that screaming come in, and I heard them calling my name, and whoa, like that reality returned. And I started running down that sand dune and waving to them, and they were like, where were you? We were looking for you the whole time, oh my God. And I said, I was right there. Where? I went there, he said. I was there, I couldn't see you. There we go. Yeah, a lot happened there, a lot more happened there, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to cut it right here. But yeah, you know what? Your senses really amplified. By the end of my stay, I could hear the footprints of an ant on the sand. That's probably the beginning, it was the beginning of opening of my third eye. I could see for miles, I could hear really well, I could smell. That was as intense as it is now for me, that I know that my third eye is open, and those are the symptoms of an open third eye. But yeah, I went back to New York, I received everything I wanted, and now I live in the desert. And my life in New York changed dramatically after that trip, because I just stopped stressing. I knew that everything made perfect sense at all times, and if you ask for something, it is given. Alright guys, long sharing today. I wanted to share this story. Please tune in. I share a lot of I cover a lot of different subjects on my YouTube channel, Talk to Isa. Please subscribe for more weekly transmissions. If you'd like to have a session with me, you can reach me at isabellagreene.com. I love you. Thank you for tuning in today. Take care. Namaste.